So often when I'm consulting, I get asked the question, why should we spend all that money? How am I going to make money when I have a database? And I think that's a really good question. Remember that building a database and maintaining a database is expensive. And so you need to make sure that the strategies that you implement based on that database bring in more revenue and more profits. So I want to talk right now about a little list that I have of the 14 benefits of building and using a database, and in fact doing database marketing. So what changes when you have a database? Well, first and foremost, you can determine how much each customer is worth. That's really important. I can identify who my best customers are. And by the way, I can also identify who my worst customers are. As you know, the Pareto principle would argue that about 20% of your customers create 80% of your profits. Now, I'm not really sure that that holds in every single business, but in many businesses it's true. And certainly it's true that not all customers are worth as much and are equal. And as a result, some customers, it would make good sense for us to spend more time and more effort on satisfying them, building relationships with them, and engaging them. Third, you can communicate in a personal way with each customer. Different communications for different customers. You can build a dialogue or conversation with your customers based on what they have communicated to you in the past and what you have communicated to them in the past. Now, this is really a crucial notion here. That is, I can communicate in a personal way. That is, if I've never purchased any ammunition from Dick's Sporting Goods, then there's no reason for Dick's Sporting Goods to send me offers about guns and ammunition, because I've never bought anything from them. I'm obviously not interested in that. This is an example of communicating with relevant information, making relevant offers, and not bothering me with communications that I'm not at all interested in. If you keep communicating with customers and sending them irrelevant offers, they will eventually unsubscribe. You can use the information that you've gathered to build better relationships with your best customers. You learn more about them, you build a relationship with them. Now, we're going to talk about this later on in the course, but it's crucial to understand that it is difficult to build strong relationships in a strictly online environment. Think about the companies and the businesses that you have the strongest relationships with. They tend to be companies and businesses that you deal with face to face. Your auto mechanic, perhaps your doctor, perhaps your attorney, perhaps a mentor of yours, or a restaurant, or a deli counter, or a barber, or whatever it might be. It tends to be more face-to-face interactions that build that relationship over time, because there is a social aspect to all relationships. That social element is difficult to build in an online environment, but it can be done if you're really good at marketing communications on a one-to-one basis. Hopefully you can increase lifetime value of your customers by reducing the number of people who leave, that is, improving retention or reducing defections, increasing the amount of money spent by customers, and reducing marketing costs and increasing referrals. Those are all ways that help increase the value and the lifetime value of customers that you currently have. Number 6, You can profile your customers using a combination of behavioral, demographic, and psychographic variables. That is, you can learn who your customers are. When we talk about profiling customers, we talk about identifying the differences between customers in terms of demographic variables, but also psychographic variables and even usage variables. So we can get a profile of what our best customers look like and what each individual customer looks like so that we can customize communications and offers for them. You can model and segment your customers in a variety of ways to make your marketing efforts more efficient and more effective. Number 8, you can clone your best customers. Now, I'm a University of Wisconsin graduate for my doctorate. And of course, the University of Wisconsin was one of the first universities to focus on cloning when they were cloning dairy cattle. And of course, they were cloning dairy cattle to reproduce those dairy cattle that were the largest milk producers. Now, the interesting thing is that they did most of their work with Holsteins, and Holsteins are those black and white cattle that have this blotches, black and white splotches on them. Those cattle are white with black spots or blotches. Now, one of the funny things about cloning cattle is that if you clone cattle, their markings will be all exactly the same. So the cattle will not be identifiable by name or without having them all tagged because they all look exactly alike. So we want to clone our best customers. That is, we want to find out what our best customers look like, and then we want to market to people who we think will be the next generation of best customers. You can be much more targeted in your acquisition efforts and by determining the best predictors of profitable long-term customers. You can provide different levels of service depending on how valuable a customer is to the organization. In essence, you can discriminate between customers. Now, we're relatively familiar with that here in Las Vegas. We know that high rollers at casinos get better service than low rollers at casinos. So we understand that concept. But many organizations and many companies don't have the ability to do that because they don't have a database. Think about Walmart. Everybody that walks into Walmart has to be treated like their most valuable customers because Walmart has no way of discerning how valuable a customer you are. You can offer your best customers special deals, special offers, and more services. You can quickly gather information cheaply and accurately by quickly surveying your current customers that are already in your database. You can determine the effectiveness of any marketing effort you have. This is a direct marketing benefit, by the way, by evaluating the marketing campaign, the direct marketing campaign that you have in place in terms of the number of people who have responded, who responded, and how profitable they were over time. And finally, and it's probably a little bit less important for some companies than for others, you could rent your database to someone else so that they might communicate with your customers if in fact your customers are part of their target market. 14 good reasons to have a database.